Anyway, I didn't come here for this, he said and looked at the floor. Jungkook, I just wanted to tell you that I'm leaving for Italy for a business trip. Taeyoung's heart was shattered as he came to know about the news. He was leaving. The idea didn't sit well with him. What? This Jumbo? He didn't want him to leave. At least, not like this. What? I'm pretty sure. I didn't shudder, he snapped. They cast his eyes downward and blinked at the tears every single time this happened. There was always the one found guilty in the end. When will you be back? They couldn't help but ask. He felt like he was squeezing his heart, and he had never encountered such strong feeling ever before. This feeling scared Tae, and he wanted this misunderstanding to go away. They wanted to be comfortable with Jungkook and feel all those things that a wife is supposed to feel toward his husband. I'm not quite sure. I have a flight in an hour, and it might take a week or probably more. He sounded more surrounding totally calm. In an hour? A week? He shouldn't leave when there was a going on between them, when there was insecurities would keep them apart. When Jungkook was here and they were scared to be around him, he just shouldn't leave because they didn't want him to. A week? They mumbled. The small response, Jungkook's eyes flinched at Tae and something crossed his eyes. Maybe more. He nodded. They swallowed and looked down at his feet. Anyway, I should probably leave now, he signed, glaring at Tae. Suddenly a panic hit Tae and his eyes snapped toward him. The eyes were winded and breathed were uneven as he looked at him, but Tae couldn't say anything, and it was like he would stop if he told him to. So Tae did what he had best at. Okay, he nodded his head and didn't meet his eyes, but they could feel Jungkook's body would tense. He kept standing there, as if waiting for Tae to say something. But they just turned around and went toward the wardrobe, tried to keep himself busy somewhere. But things had changed. His world was titled, and the emotion burst open inside him. They couldn't hold it together anymore. As soon as he heard the door clicked open, he turned around over his shoulder. Look at him with tear in his eyes. Why did it hurt so much? He was only leaving for a week. But it felt like they were already steps back in their relationship. What happened next wasn't going to do with the rational mind, rather, it was his heart that took over his emotion. Cook, the name rolled on their mouth in form of a small whisper, but that was enough to make his body go. He turned around and probably meant to ask them something, but they walked over to him, and tears stopped the world in his mouth altogether. Taeyoung hiccup stand in front of him and wrap his arms around his torso. I'm sorry, they mumbled in his chest, not wanting to let him go, only if he hid in his way. Jungkook froze. Did he do something that cursed Tae to act like that? It was freaking him out, and his heart was beating much faster right now. Realizing that his arm was still beside him, he quickly left them up and encased his body between them. He didn't say anything and let them embrace him for however long he wanted. Did they not wanted him to go? That thought spread warmth through his body, and his smile left the corner of his lips up. Pulling back, they wiped away his already dried tears and peeled at him through his thick lashes. They had a contact of what seems like forever, but sometimes forever was just a few moments. They blinked, and both of their hearts would reach each other in beating faster. Jungkook clipped his dry lips and refused to remove his arm for Tae's waist. Rather, he pulled it closer. The free hand moved to the hair back. There was sticking on his forehead, and his thumb moved over the closed eyes. There was complete and utter silence, other than their sharp breaths and his heart throbbing and his ear. He was not afraid that he was badly wanted to do it. It was almost painful for him. At the look They was not able to. Jungkook's hand slipped down his cheeks to his neck and cupped the side of it, where his lips had been a few days ago. His thumb drew a small pattern over the pulse, and his head leaned down. His eyes were still closed, and this time he knew that he was feeling it too. They were feeling it. The name left his mouth, a thick and husky voice that drew eyes open at an instant. There was no shock on his face when they saw his face just an inch away from him's. They didn't panic when his eyes flinched to his lips and stayed there until they were heard for distance left between them. Jungkook's eyes were clenched at him to make sure that there was no panic behind them. When he found no, he closed the space between them. His soft lips were landed on him's, and it was as if the words started shaking. Taeyoung's body visibly shivered when he pressed his lips harder on him and his hand behind his neck, pulling them toward him. The firework exploded, and his loud thump of heart in his thought made them feel like his would explode them and tear. If it was natural, the arm lifted and wrapped his arms around his neck. The thick curls at the back of his neck were twisted between the finger, and the grip tightened. Pulling them closer so that there was no space between them, Jungkook opened his mouth, making his lips apart before he took the bottom lip, the own ground sound of the deep in his chest. The kiss they both were sandwiched in it, tilted head, moving his lips and framing his cheeks like feel like heaven. They couldn't just digest. He had missed something so good for so long. Unfortunately, the lungs screamed for oxygen, and they had to push him like he was pushing a wall. Jungkook tilted his head back and stared at him, with heavy breath filled with the silence of the room. His young cheeks were flushed with the pink color, and his lips were solid due to the salt. He couldn't be more satisfied. It had been doing, and his mind pride increased a little. I both looked at the ground before his eyes met, and sparkle flew over once again. I I need to leave. Jungkook scratched the back of his neck and shifted his weight. This was the first boy he kissed, and he knew that nothing could please him that. Yeah, they looked at the floor and nodded. I'll see you then, he said awkwardly, and they nodded and looked at him. Yeah, they swallowed. Jungkook stepped forward and their hearts were kicked once again. See you, sweetheart. He muttered before placing a kiss on their cheeks and left. They closed the door and touched his lips. What just happened? 3 days has gone by without calling him. There was an annoy, or maybe he was. Signing, they walked toward the dressing table and picked up the phone, which he had suffered for him unwanted. His eyes were found when he looked at the caller ID and switched the thumb over the screen. Hello, they spoke, pressing the phone against his ear. He heard that shuffling for the other side along with the horn of cars. How are you, my princess? They rolled his eyes because he understood his brother so well. What do you need? They said, attempt to sound like loving. Okay, you got me. So, you're free, right? He asked. They thought for a moment about it and then signed. They nodded to sleep, but he would help him. He had to, otherwise, he wouldn't start bugging him. Depends on what you ask. They rubbed his eyes with his finger as he yawned left, his mouth making his eyes steady. I need your help. He groaned like he didn't want to say something. Yeah, they said absent-mindedly. His mind is getting some sleep. I just wanted to throttle that right now.